Okay, great. We are live. Okay, welcome guys. Welcome. Hi. Hi everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. All right. There we go. All right. I got you on the video. Nice. How are
Not too
you?
bad, not too bad.
Good. Good, good. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So happy to have you
Thank you.
here. Amazing, amazing. So we're just waiting for Erica to jump on.
Yes.
And while Erica's jumping on, we're just going to wait for some more people to come on in the room. Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us this nice Saturday afternoon. We've got some great guests, and it's our conversation series again. Back with Erica. She's just going to jump on, and we'll get started. It's amazing. So happy New Year to folks. I know people are kind of tired of hearing everybody say that now because we're like the fourth week or the last week of January. But yeah, happy New Year to everybody because we haven't been on the platform in a couple of days. So happy New Year again. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, keep on coming in, guys. All right. There we go. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Okay.
All right.
Amazing. Yay. Erica, how are you?
I'm
Good,
great,
good,
Sophia.
good.
How are
Thank
you?
you so much, guys. We appreciate you guys being here. Again, the conversation series is kicking off for January, and we're so happy to have folks here. You guys know we always start with our introduction and land acknowledgement, and then I will spin it over to Erica for the amazing conversation. So, Canadian Women of Color Leadership Network is a nonprofit grassroots organization that was established in 2018 in Canada's National Capital Region of Ottawa. We recognize that our office is located on the unceded and unsurrendered land of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We acknowledge and respect all First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people for their valuable past and present contributions to this land. We respectfully acknowledge and appreciate our presence on this land, on the Algonquin Anishinaabe ancestral lands, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to be present in this territory with you today, and we will continue to work in solidarity towards improving the lives of our diverse people on this shared land, and we acknowledge the importance and commitment to decolonization towards working in partnership with Indigenous communities. CWCLN is founded on the pillars of women in leadership, wellness, economic development, and community partnerships. We operate through a lens of intersectional feminist and post-colonialistic framework in all of our objectives. We aim to see Black and racialized women, two-spirit, trans, non-binary femmes reflected in upper-level leadership and management positions in the workplace by providing the necessary skills, tools, and connections to mitigate systemic barriers. So with that, I will pass it over to Erica. Thanks, Erica. We'll see you at the end.
Thanks, Sophia. So thank you, Kumudini, for being with me here today, and thanks to everyone on the network for joining our talk today. I'll just give a quick, brief intro to Kumudini. Kumudini Nicholas was born in Sri Lanka and currently lives in Ottawa. She has graduated in Sri Lanka with an honors degree in chemistry and a master's from Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia. She currently works in the Federal Public Service, and she has published several research articles and a chapter in the Technical Handbook addressing toxicological concerns in pharmaceutical products. She published her debut memoir under the pen name R.E. Saliente on the 17th of April, 2022, and she's my guest here today on the network.
Thank you, Erica,
welcome, Kumudini.
and thank you, Sophia, for inviting me in. I'm really glad to be here today, and so I just wanted to give a brief introduction on how my talk or discussion will go with Erica. And this is definitely not going to be a discussion on discrimination in our lovely country, Canada, but it is how I perceived that kind of effect on me as a new immigrant in this Canada. And based on those perceptions, how I developed tools to overcome certain barriers that were coming across me to reach my goals and to realize my dreams. So at the end of this discussion, what my hope is that the takeaway note will be to examine everybody's lives based on their conditions and see whether you can use some of the tools that I have used to overcome certain barriers and become an author after being, of course, as a scientist, I have been all my life, but suddenly I am now an author. So that's my hope, excuse me, that everybody, regardless of their color or gender, or where you came from, this will be a positive experience for you to take some notes home.
Oh, wonderful. Thanks for setting the light on that. So let me start with my first question, just an introductory question. I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about yourself and about your journey to Canada.
So basically you gave a very nice introduction to me in my current status and where I was born. Being born in Sri Lanka doesn't mean that you can fit into any societies. However, in my situation, I was not given the opportunity to decide where I want to be. So I basically had to travel with my husband to Canada unexpectedly. So basically I felt like a fish out of water at the very beginning. But then of course, I developed my skills along the way and brought up a son who got very well educated. And I educated further myself. And as Erika said, I'm currently employed by the federal government. And I'm really, really enjoying my work. As a wife and a wife of a graduate student, when I came to Canada, it was a difficult task for me to go anywhere because I had my work cut out for me. I had to look after my family, and that's my primary responsibility. But in my core, I'm not that. I can be that. However, I have been educated and I had a very good job as assistant lecturer in Sri Lanka in a university, and I had to give up all that. So within me, I look at myself as actually a person who can be employed in any country, but I have to strive to achieve that level to get to that point. So this is my story.
Okay, wonderful. And so after you moved to Canada, you furthered your studies, eventually and you had a career in science in Sri Lanka, and then you migrated that career over here to Canada. So you've had a successful career as a scientist. I'd love to hear more about what was some of the work that you did and what were you most proud of when it comes to your work in science?
Like I said, when I came to this country, I was never recognized even as a citizen of this country, like anybody else. I came as a wife of a spouse of a graduate student. And so with my background in chemistry, however, I always kept up with my knowledge to improve, to fit into anything that is coming my way. But finding employment, even after graduating from Dalhousie University, was very difficult for an immigrant in general. So for me, being a woman and being an immigrant, it was very, very difficult. So there was no opportunity in Nova Scotia. But we realized it the hardest possible way. And fortunately, my husband decided to move to Ottawa to give us both better opportunities to find employment. So that's how we ended up in Ottawa. And so I still looked around and I couldn't find anything. And then fortunately, I one day met with another immigrant who is already in the public service at a higher level position. So for some reason, he saw my knowledge and abilities beyond my skin color, and just gave me a brief interview with a group of people. And lo and behold, I was accepted, but was given a casual position. And that's the best he could do. So with that casual position, I decided on my own, I'm not going to stay in the same level. I'm going to go beyond this and achieve the goal that I want. So what I did was, I looked around and I realized that, yes, I am different to anybody that I saw around me. However, there were similar people as well who have gone beyond their limits and achieved their goals. So I decided, okay, if I work hard and if I learn more than what I'm expected to learn, there must be an opportunity. So my tool at that time was to educate myself further and further into that field. So that I had to do on my own time. So I work 7.5 hours, come home, do all that I have to do at home, and still I kept on reading on things, writing on things related to my job. And I read everything that is online related to my job. So when the opportunity showed up for another competition, I was pretty much ready for that. So I did not wait somebody else to tell me what to do. I did on my own. Maybe because I was always like that. But so I was able to pass exams, and I was able to go beyond my limited availability, or presented what was available for me. I went up and up as far as I could. So I looked at social discrimination or systemic discrimination that I may have encountered within my work environment as a stepping stool for me. I did not look at it as somebody's trying to kick me down. I saw that, okay, you think that I may be not clever enough to do certain things. Maybe I do have an accent because I came from somewhere else. But I do have the knowledge of English. I do have the knowledge of chemistry. So let me look at another way to get there. So that's how I used it as a tool, because I saw many people are not willing to educate themselves, rather than going to another university, but you can learn on your own so many things. And so that's what I did. So while managing a labor-intensive household, coming to a family who need basically my attention for many things, I was able to travel the world because of my interest in knowledge in certain aspects of specific areas of my field. And nobody else knew what I knew. And so basically, the people who have the authority to give the opportunities for anybody to go around the world and represent the workplace could not say no, because I demonstrated that I have that knowledge. So that's where I went from zero to someplace. And I'm currently very happy with my work, but I never stopped learning. There's so much to learn. So I continue to learn, even at my age. I don't think I want to go any higher place to do anything beyond this, but knowledge is something that I'm always had thirst for. So anybody who wants to go anywhere, although your skin color may not match the majority of people around you, I don't think that is a hindrance to anything that you want to do. You have your own strengths inside you, and you can develop your own tools to get there wherever you want to go without tripping over anybody. And so that's what I did.
Oh, I really love that. I like the idea of, finding a way to get that seat at the table. And then once you're there, really using all of the resources, that are available to you, or even if they're unavailable to you, finding and educating yourself in every way possible so that you can demonstrate your knowledge even further. You really get an opportunity to prove yourself. And like you said, you had all of that knowledge and you were able to showcase it in the most effective ways that helped you move up in your career. So that's those are really great insights to share with the audience. You touched on this briefly, already, but could you describe any times where you might have felt some discrimination or microaggressions in the workplace, and how is it that you might have dealt with those things at that time?
I definitely can say I did felt that, especially because being a woman and, in a maybe male-dominated environment that I work in certain places, and being a woman of color, there were certain instances, like it's a microaggression is more than very clear discrimination. Because in the public service, I would say the term I use for that is subtle, very subtle. So if you are,
Yes.
if you have not experienced discrimination before, you can even miss out on that. You might not even know. However, when I came to this Canada, to Canada in 1980, I have faced with so many instances that I have face-to-face discrimination I have faced with. Very, very much
very blatant.
And then there are some other places that I worked for. I used to work for NRC one time, and I sensed that the women who worked with me did not think that I belonged there. That was very, very subtly informed to me. So one of the things that I encountered one time was that I used to take my lunch in a brown paper bag, of course, and I used to eat with whoever wants to sit with me. And there was one instance who was a woman who was actually friendly with me, who was not of my same color, but she pointed out, "Oh, you are eating very good bread." And that may be a positive thing in one sense, but then it had a tone of comparison. And why can't I eat good bread? That's what the question came to my mind. So basically, that person may have been friendly to say that to me, saying that, "Oh, you have enough money to feed yourself well." Or it could be taken as, "Well, you are an immigrant. How come you are eating good bread?" So you can take it either way. But I always looked at such people who had the courage to comment on things like that very, very sadly, because comparing with another person is a sign that you don't have that strength in you. You have something missing. And I felt sad for them. I did not respond to it. I asked whether she would like to share my bread. That's what I did. And she, of course, rejected it. So like that, there were certain instances that were, maybe it was discrimination, maybe it was microaggression, but I have to say that based on the culture in the public service is such that we are not supposed to discriminate openly, anyone, whether you are man, woman, colored, non-colored, have a disability or anything. There are code of conduct that you have to follow in the public service. So I'm fortunate, and I'm very happy for those who have developed those guidelines for people who come into the public service to follow, because that makes the public service a workable environment, comfortable environment to go day after day. And being yourself and serving the Canadians is our objective. And that environment they have created really, really helpful. But as a new immigrant, you don't know any of these things. So you can feel a lot of things and wonder, why are they talking like that? Why do they do things like that? But you learn along the way. But if you do have your strength in you to promote your own self without any help from anybody, you can do it. You can go to the place you want to go.
Oh, I love that. And it sounds like you've learned many, many lessons along the way, and I appreciate you sharing them with us. So let's move on to a very exciting topic. You recently published your first novel, and I've read it, and it's fantastic writing, and I've loved the story, from the moment that I read it. So how did you come up with this story, or how did it come to be, and what are some of the central themes around that?
Thank you, Erica, for giving me that opportunity to talk about my first publication, and it is a fictional memoir, and it is called Who Stole Mother's Soul. And I just give just a glimpse of it because I'm so proud of it. I have to share it with you. And yeah, and so it is a memoir. In a 85% of information in there is the truth, but I have fictionalized it a little bit to save the other persons who are still living, and just to make it more interesting. And so the central theme in that is courage. Again, my life had been based on that. Always, you have to have internal courage. But at the same time, the courage leads you to develop resilience. So that's pretty much where this story is developed around. But the book actually was written because of a struggle that I had to face with, because I did not have a good relationship with my mother. And, as in any family, mother is the central figure, and mother's love is everything for a child. And I do not believe that I had that privilege. So I collected so many bad memories along the way, because I had no choice but to live with my parents on and off, but still have to have that connection. So when my mother passed away in 2006, I think it is. I can't even remember the date. But when she passed away, she was 93 years old. And so I had this huge burden of dealing with all that information I have gathered. They are not positive things. They are the conflicts that I had with her, which I could not resolve while she was living. So I had this burden in me. And now I realized, oh my goodness, I don't have her anymore. So I never will get that opportunity to talk to her anymore. So I had to find a way to somehow release that stress inside me. So one day I decided, only way I can do it to express myself clearly in words, so that I can tell to myself how I felt of certain incidents, how I felt about her, how I felt about how she treated me. Everything came out as a storyline, because it is full of events that I had encountered with my mother. So that is the running story in this book. It's the mother-daughter relationship. But it is not only that. It has also how I faced with multi-generational trauma, because I had to live at one time with my grandparents. And so everything that they did seemed to have out of this world to me, because they had their own generation of living, their own culture. And then came the immigration. So I have to migrate to a country that is far, far away from my homeland. So, and that was like completely, I had to start off my life again. And so that was very, very traumatic. And then you came to a culture that you have never have encountered before. So you have to adjust your life to fit into that society. And while doing that, I had lost my son, because somebody has decided to keep him in Sri Lanka and me to follow my husband. And so my loss was so great that I had to reinvent myself, basically, culturally, personally, educationally, intellectually and employment levels, everything. So I recreated myself. So this story will tell anybody who reads it that under no circumstances you should give up on yourself. I never gave up on myself. I always believed in myself. And I have this energy inside me that it has to be done the way I want. I want to get there. So any barrier, I did not see it as a barrier. I just saw it as an opportunity again and again. So I went forward. My main purpose was in that journey is to get financial freedom and be somebody, or somebody that I thought I should be, no matter what others might say that you should not be. So that probably will be, if one reads this book, they might see the courage I had to go through that process and how resilient I was to overcome any barrier. But still, I got to the point that I wanted to. So from the reviews that I have seen, those who have read the book, I can see that I have helped in so many different ways for people to face their fears or understand themselves, or resolve their issues with their parents. For example, one lady told me that she started loving her mother more after reading my book, because she realized how good her mother was. When you look around, how much I have gone through. And and some people told me that they did not think that people actually have gone through such things as I did, because they were born here, they had the privilege of being with extended families, and they get together for Christmases and special occasions, whereas I never had any of those things. I was dropped into a country which I did not have any support system, which I could not relate to. Yes, I had friends, but it's different to having a family around you. So many people who read the book, they liked the way I presented my story with the simple language which anybody can read through faster. That I have thanked my son, because he asked me when I was writing the book, "Mom, do you want people to run to the dictionary when they read the book?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." So then he said, "Don't put huge, big sentences with big words in it that they can't understand." So that's what I took actually his advice was perfect. So I wrote the book in a very simplistic manner, and I put humor into it, because I had the way of getting in accepting situations with humor, because if I fell apart, nobody's going to pick me up. So I saw the humor in my mother's behavior in certain instances just to move forward. So the book is with humor, with a description of my beautiful island, which places that people said that they felt like as if they're there, because I gave a very good description of those places, and basic theme which gives somebody to actually see that anybody can overcome any obstacles to move forward. So that's this book.
Wonderful. I was thinking while you were talking as well, that in terms of the humor in the story, that and the humor turning those situations would be an example of building resilience.
Yes.
Right? Like finding some way to bring more of a positive light to all of the things that happened. And then the other thing too is that, what do we do in terms of, forgiveness, for example, when we can't actually, first of all, request, that other person to apologize, for example, for maybe the things that they did. How do we forgive them, without actually, getting the apology? And also sometimes how do we forgive ourselves for, for situations
and so
as well?
this book actually ends with that sentiment. I think, secretly looking for a way to forgive my mother, and I was finding the answer. Why did she behave the way she did? And I had found a secret behind this whole very strange activities and strange behaviors and strange perceptions on her part. And so that's why I think I kept the last chapter to reveal the mystery behind my mother. And so if anybody wants to read the book, don't read the last chapter. It will ruin the whole story. But if not, it's a journey. It's a journey trying for myself to find a way to accept what happened based on why she did. So I think I found that, and I think I'm really at peace after writing the book. It was so cathartic to write that because, yeah, and I found the answer to the question I was looking for: who stole mother's soul? That's pretty much the question I had in mind, and I found the answer to that. So I have forgiven her. And that itself also is a very good take-home note from this book, because if you have encountered difficulties in life, you can always look at the person and think, why would they do that? There must be a reason for that. And believe it or not, everybody has a reason for their present day activities or behaviors or words. Everybody goes through trauma that we may not even know. And so I think it's a good way to, take it as it comes and see whether we can reconcile with what happened, because the other person might have gone through even bigger trauma than you have. And maybe that's why they are behaving that way. So it was a journey, was enlightening to me. And I'm sure anybody who reads the book can find their way through that to find enlightening moments as well. Because everybody has difficult lives. I mean, nobody has a smooth sailing in anybody's life, because we are all human beings. We make mistakes. We sometimes do things that we regret later. And so this this book actually gave me an opportunity to tell my story, relieve my burden, find forgiveness to those who were hurting me, and share that with the rest of the world. So I'm very happy that I had that opportunity to publish the book.
Wonderful. I think you touched on part of my next question too, about why it would have been important for you to tell the story. Were you always, in terms of your writing, were you always journaling, throughout your life? And then eventually it moved on to becoming the story?
I must say that I have a photographic memory. For some reason, good moments, bad moments, people's words, I can repeat word for word sometime. I have this photographic memory of everything. But yes, I did have journals written down, the instances that I could not handle situations. Like, for instance, when I lost my contact with my son, who was only 4 months old when I had to leave him. And there was a moment that I just did not want to live anymore, because it was too much to handle. There was nobody to talk to. Yes, in those instances, I wrote things down. But other instances, I can sit here and talk about anything that happened several months ago as if it's happening now. It's something who I am, I think. But yes, putting down your notes, if you want to use it in a future date, that's a good idea. Right now, I actually have small books all around my house. And if a thought comes to me, I write them down. Because those thoughts never stay in you. So you just have to write it down.
Yeah.
So if I am giving some suggestions to any woman who wants to write, be a writer, then I must say that first thing is, of course, we have to have the language. But if you are a person who was born in this country, and if you have educated yourself in English or French, well, you don't have to go too much far to find that language. It's in you. But if you have not, like myself, my first language is not English. So I had to learn English first. And luckily, because we were a British colony, we had to get a credit for in our exams to go to the next level. So we were forced to learn English as a second language. But I did more than that. I went beyond that. What I did was that I started reading from very small days. I read everything and anything around the house. Like say, for instance, if I was fascinated by Jane Austen books, and so I got exposed to that era, how people lived, how the British behaved, the statements they used. And then I went further, a little bit more recent books like Daphne du Maurier or even Barbara Cartland, and to read love stories. I loved reading those books. And I started gathering statements, paragraphs in little books, along the way. And I kept a record of how many books I read, what they are and what they are about, that kind of recording. And then I did not eliminate books written by men, because they have another perspective in their lives. Like I used to read books written by John le Carre or anybody, like even Stephen King. They have something to say to you. They have some way of looking at life, different to a woman maybe. But all those can be incorporated into your storyline if you are planning to write a story one day. And metaphors, lots of metaphors. I collected so many metaphors from very good writers, and they were very helpful to put sentences together and describe myself in situations, places. And the main thing that anybody wants is discipline and determination that you want to write. That has to be in you. Otherwise, you will never write. So you always think, all these people have written all these books, why can't I? That gives you that incentive. So when you sit down in front of a computer or with a notebook in your hand, the first sentence that you write is very important. If you don't write that first sentence, you won't go anywhere. But once you write that first sentence, you can see that, okay, I do have a story to tell. And believe me, this world is full of people wanting to know your story, because their life may or may not be as same as yours. They may learn something from you, or they may get entertained by your storytelling. So if you have a story that you think you want to write, don't hesitate. Just write it. Start from the first sentence, and next day, first paragraph. But you have to have that discipline to write every day. You know how they say that you read like a writer, you write like a reader. And you have to have that combination. Your reading is the first step to writing, but you have to write, imagine that somebody is going to read it. And the other thing I noticed is that you need a group of people who can brutally give you honest opinion on your writing, because they are that community of readers. And that is where this story is going to go. So if the community of reader is not accepting your way of presenting your story, you have to know it in advance so you can change it. So you gather a group of people who can really, really close to you or not close to you, but is willing to tell you the truth about your writing. And I was very fortunate. I met several people like that in local settings, and during my travels across the globe, I found people who can be beta readers. They are the ones who really move you forward. And that is the startup of your writing. And believe me, it is not easy to keep on writing every day. But if you have that inclination to get it there, you have to do that every day. Write at least one sentence every day. And if you think that somebody's in your way for writing, say for instance, you have to take care of a huge family or something, let them know that this is your passion, and then they can free up a little time. You might say that, okay, afternoon at 1 o'clock, I want half an hour and I'm going to write, and that's my determination. Could you please help me with that? And I'm sure a family who is loving and caring for you will give that time. But if you don't tell them, they won't know, and you can't fight with them. So just openly say it. And then finally, if you ever are heading towards getting married, and if you are wanting to be a writer one day, marry a man who can cook. So you can have some free time. So you will have that free time. When he's cooking, you can do the writing. But everybody's not that fortunate. I'm still doing the majority of my cooking at home. But I am determined to do every morning. I get up so early enough. Before I start my work, I spend half an hour minimum or 1 hour maximum, do my writing every single day. And that helped me to move forward. And after 3 years later, while I'm doing full-time employment, I was able to get this book out. So you can do it too.
Oh, I love that. So it's, getting yourself into that habit every day, making the time, and then, I suppose it becomes a regular part of your life at that point, right? It's something that it's like, it's like not putting on your socks at the end of the year, like something's missing, like that it's something that
like
you're
eating
doing
every day, going for a walk every day for exercise. This is part of your brain exercise every day. That's how it is.
Wonderful. Anything else that you'd like to share with the audience? Any upcoming projects?
I'm excited to say that I started my second book a while back. And not while back, about 6 months or 7 months ago. And I'm happy to say that it is progressing very well so far. And the main theme of that story, or it touches on the difficulties faced with a family who has a person with autism spectrum. So when you have a person who was born with that kind of condition, which they have no control over, they were born that way, and the family has to accommodate that person into their lives, excuse me, and move forward with whatever that comes. So this story begins with that kind of effect, and how that can lead to individuals who are emotionally or intimately connected to that individual to find ways to experience real life privileges, such as true love, doing things together. And if you have not that opportunity for a long, long period of time, and when something happens in your life, that to see that somebody else is seeing that in you and try to give you some comfort, it is natural that person kind of turns away from the difficult situations, although that might not be the appropriate thing to do. So in this storyline, the person, so-called person, the woman, is wanting to have true love, and she constantly felt that she does not belong to the place that she's living. She's fragmented. She's looking for where she was born. She was adopted by the mother. And so the story goes to see that one particular day, one incident happened to realize that she had been reincarnated, that this is not her first life. So she tried to figure out what that is about, and she decided to travel the world to see whether she can encounter certain situation, to find out whether she can perceive that where she had been in previous lives. And lo and behold, the universe helped her. And so she realized how the first encounter with this other man had happened, excuse me, and how it came about centuries ago, and how the reincarnation has happened because of the craving in her mind to be with this person, and how it perpetuates the life after life after life, and now in the current situation. So this story is that. So it touches on realities of life, like autism spectrum, how women actually go through difficult lives, and based on literature, based on religious leaders, perception, how the reincarnation is actually is possible. So it touches on various aspects of this humanity. That's pretty much it.
Wonderful. I'm very much looking forward to reading it. Do you have anything else that you would like to share? And before we end too, I'd love for you to, for anyone who would like to get in touch with you following, let us know a way to contact you and any other things that you'd like to finish with.
If anybody has any questions about me, my book, how I overcame or anything, or want to have an email discussion, my email address is madinichan@hotmail.com. And if you are on LinkedIn or any other social media, perhaps Erica can provide that email address. I have no problem of sharing that.
Yes.
But before I go away, I would like to say that this was a great opportunity to express my thoughts on myself, on my writing, and where I had been and how my journey can help somebody else. And to connect with the title of this discussion, I must say that I'm still a scientist. I still do scientific work and I enjoy doing it and I still learn new things about it. But at the same time, somehow or the other, my mother, who was treating me so badly throughout my life, gave me an opportunity to become a creative writer. And I'm grateful for that. And so I will continue on that path because I truly, truly enjoy writing. And I wish all the very best for any scientist or anybody who's doing anything else. Try their hand in creative writing. It is a release. It is a comfort. It is expressing yourself to anybody who wants to read about you. Thank you so much for this organization, the host, and the person who came on the screen to say hello to me, Sophia. And so I wish you all the very best. And I hope anybody who wants to be in touch with me, I'm completely open to that. Thank you.
We are super excited to have had you here. Thank you so much. Your journey, you've turned all your challenges into something of inspiration, particularly putting it into a book. So this is sometimes a way of relieving the stresses that you have. You can start to write or journal, and we do talk about that in our different programs. So I love that that's the way that you decided to, relieve your stress, relieve and bring you to a place of mental well-being. That was amazing, and I really appreciate that, and I look forward to your second book. I want to be able to read your first so that I can get over to your second book, so it'd be like a follow-up. So I have a lot of reading to do, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And again, thank you so much for the regular speaker series conversations that you're going to be putting on. We are excited for 2023, guys. There's lots coming up. We've got a lot of conversations to have with a lot of amazing women and femmes out there in the world. So stay tuned. Remember that we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and right here on IG. Make sure to continue to follow us. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, make sure you do. You'll find everything in our posts here on IG. And with that, I will say farewell. Have a happy Saturday, everyone. Have a good day, and we'll be back again with other conversations. So stay tuned. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.